So I'm going to talk about let's do the joke command, because that's a fairly easy one to look into. There is, what you got to find first of all is a site that will offer jokes. Okay. And so for that one, what I did was there's a site called icanhasdadjoke.com. So we go to icanhasdadjoke.com and it gives you a random joke, right? Thanks for explaining the word many to me. It means a lot. It's only a murder of crows if there's probable cause. Okay, not good. Have you ever seen fruit preserves being made? It's jarring. Okay, fantastic. Love it, right? But they've got this Slack interface here. So if you know how this works, then you can build integration into Slack. And the way that it works, because when we dug into this one, I forget where I found it, but you can go to icanhasdadjoke.com/Slack, and it brings back JSON as a result, which we can pretty print here. And you can see here that it looks inside the JSON. You've got this attachment section, and in the attachment section here, it's got the fallback, the footer, and the text. What we want is the text from this, which is that. Someone broke into my house last night and stole my limbo trophy. How low can you go? Not bad. We refresh that game, we get a different joke, thankfully. Dad, I'm hungry. Hello, hungry, I'm dad. That's okay, whatever. But the key thing here that we're looking for is in the JSON, we want to get the attachments. And from the attachments, we want to get the text. So we need, first of all, in our command, let's go and create a new command. This is going to be exclamation mark joke. Okay. The first thing we can do is URL fetch JSON and then that URL. So pop that in there, and that will get us that URL. So then we say, all right, back over here, joke, and we should get some JSON spat back out. All right, but that's not very pretty. So what we want to do is parse this JSON now. So instead of just doing URL fetch and getting the string, what I'm going to do is take that and we're going to put it into a variable and evaluate it. Okay, so there you would do something like this. Eval joke string is a decode the URI from the query string with this URL here. Okay, then it's probably, I'm trying to think what the easiest way is to explain how to do this, because we're going to have, I'm trying to copy and paste from different places as well, and I want to build it up slowly if I can. Let's try this. Okay, so that's still working. Okay, and that's evaluating what's returned by this joke string. Then the next thing we want to do inside our bracket is we want to parse that JSON. So we're looking for the joke. We want the joke. We want to parse out the joke string. So let's take, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just take the whole thing. We can reverse engineer it basically. So eval starts us with some JavaScript. So we're going to run some JavaScript. Joke string is the name of the variable that we're going to put the joke into. So that takes the whole JSON, grabs this URL in JSON format, and puts the whole thing into joke string. Then what we do is we try this piece of code, and if that doesn't work, we catch the error and we spit out the error string at the end. Okay, which takes us up to here. And whatever the result of all of that output is, we substring that and we take the first 400 characters. So that's so that it'll come out and fit in chat. so we don't overflow the chat. So this joke string then, we then make a variable called joke, which says json.parse the joke string, which goes and takes the JSON and passes it into this variable joke. So that's our JSON. Then if we parsed it okay, and it has an attachments entry, and the first or the 0th element of the array of attachments exists, and it has a text section, then we spit that out. Otherwise, we can't parse the joke because it's not what we expected. And the whole thing of that is then substringed to show the first 400 characters. And if we get an error, then we take this error message and we substring that to 400 characters. So if we were to deconstruct this, what you'd find is that joke string contains the entire JSON string from beginning to end as a text string. Joke is an object in JavaScript which contains the JSON object. So that would be essentially, oh, that's bright, this object. And then we want the attachment. We want the first one in the array. So this could have multiple attachments. We want the first one in the array. So that starts at 0. That's here. And then we get the text portion, which comes from this bit here that says text. So starting off from that position, I then found other places where we had APIs where you could then create similar things. And I had to wait for some conditions to happen. So for example, one of the ones that's really cool is a command that will tell me whether Fortnite is up or down. Okay, so if we go to status.epicgames.com, okay, this page says that there's an EOS voice connection issue that they're looking into. They've been looking into this since March. Then you've got this section here that says Fortnite is operational. This is a roll-up of every piece under it. And then under it, they've got these various items here to say, okay, is this, is login working? Is matchmaking working? And so on. And then they've got that for all the other Epic games as well. And then they have a list of incidents. Well, what can I do with this? Well, the interesting thing of all of this is that this is powered by Atlassian status page. Okay, and this Atlassian status page has an API. So if you go to /API, it gives you the documentation on how to call their API. So by going to this page here, summary.json, that gives me a summary of everything that was on that page, basically. Okay, so if I was to look at this, I can go down and say, yeah, all right, if I want something from here, this is part of the page element. But actually what I want is this. This is a components array. It's got square brackets, so this is an array. Here, I can use the name and the status. So I want the component where the name is Fortnite, and I want to get the status and see what this says. So there, if I take that summary one, then this is the code that I've got here. I create a new command. This one was called, I'm going to call this one outage, I think. I'm going to call this one outage. So we want to see whether Fortnite is up or running or not. So in here, very much the same thing. We evaluate a variable. We use D. So D is just what I've called the output of the JSON here. Okay. So that's the entire page. Everything on here this is D. There's a big array called D. So I bring all of that in, and then I try and get the components of D. So this is looking at the incidents, this one. And if we don't find any incidents, then it returns an empty array. Then to get the Fortnite status, I look at the components and I find the one where the status is investigating. And if I don't find one, then I say no outage found. And if I do find one, then we'll output that outage. Okay, and if we can't find it, then we spit out an error. So let me create that and show you what that looks like. So if I go to outage, that tells me, that gets me that header from that page. So from the here, this EOS voice connection issue. That's what that one. That's what that is pulling back. In my command, I also put the link at the end so that I can easily click on it and go to that page and see what was going on. So that's how we get the incident. If we want to get this status here, the Fortnite one, then we have to look at a different call. This one is, if we go to the API page, this one. On the API page, instead of going to the summary, there is one called components. So we go to this components JSON. And that gives us, for each of the components, we can go and look up the status of those. So what I've done there is find this. Let's do a new one. This one's called Fortnite status. And in here, I do the same thing. So I evaluate D, our URL, which goes and looks at that components JSON. And then it looks at the component. So it looks in D, it looks for the components. So that's this components there. Then it's looking for, it's trying to find in the components, it's trying to find the component where the component name, lowercase, is Fortnite. So that's finding the component where the name is Fortnite. And from there, wrong way, that gives us a Fortnite status variable. And if something is filled in there, so it worked, I say Fortnite status, and then I get the Fortnite status's status. So that's whatever's in this value here. If we don't find it, then we do Fortnite status not found. We substring that to give us the first 400. If there's an error, we say error fetching the status, and we substring that to 400, and then I put the URL out at the end. So now we've got one called Fortnite status. We run that one, and it gives us operational. It gives us operational because that's what this says here. Okay. And that's also what's returned by the API here. Now, if Fortnite's down, then that'll say under maintenance. But normally it would just say operational. And you can pick this for any of them. So if we wanted to look at specifically the matchmaking, then we could find the one that says matchmaking, and we can go and look at that. There are different IDs here, though, so we might have to learn what these IDs mean as well. This one, for example, is a component of Rocket League. Okay, and this one's matchmaking is the component of Lego Fortnite, for example. So you've got to be able to sort of read this and decipher it. Essentially, if you look at the public page, you can look here and try and work this out. So if you wanted the matchmaking status, you can go and have a dig in and see what the component is for this, and it'll give you the component ID there. And then from that, I can find that in here, and I can see that this one with that ID, that would be the matchmaking status of Fortnite there. So in my code, I could look for, instead of looking for where the name is Fortnite, I could look for the one where the ID is that ID. And then we could go and get the matchmaking one. So I got various commands that I've built like this. So I've got one that will look at the status page. So if we go back over here, this is the status JSON. I can use that one to get the status of everything on the Epic page. So the main status. So over here, I create a new command called epicstatus. And again there, this goes off and it pulls back. So this is the status JSON, goes and pulls back this status JSON page. Then I want the description, SD status description, is checking if we got the status JSON with a status. And if we did, get the description of that. If we didn't, then return an empty array. And if it's not empty, then spit out epicstatus and that status description. Otherwise, say epicstatus not found because we didn't find it. Give us the first 400 characters, catch the error. So I can put all of this in the description. So now that one, epicstatus, I run that in here. All systems operational. And the reason that it says that is because we grabbed this page here. And that gives us a high-level overview, and I'm looking for the one where the description here, the status description. Okay, that's giving us the status of Epic Games overall. You can do this for anything that's powered by JSON, anything that's powered by this Atlassian stuff. So you could go and grab anything. If we just Google that, you can go and find any of these results here. Any of these companies, they've all got status pages. You could go and scrape the same thing. Other examples might include there's Chuck Norris database, which I think is here. Yep, which has an API. And here you can get this. This gets a random joke in JSON format. What I want here is the value of that. And to parse that, then you can do this, grabbing that fact from this URL, parsing out that fact string, looking for the fact. This is, let's grab that. Make sure we got the right URL. There we go. We want is the value out of that. That's there, fact value. So we parse out the JSON, we pull out the value field, and then we spit that out into the chat. That's probably easier. So then here we want a Chuck fact. There we go. What other ones have we got? There's, again, it's all about finding the websites that have these things. Catfact.ninja is an API where you can find information about cats. And what we should get is a fact string back from that. So again, in the same vein that we've just had there for the Chuck Norris, create a new one called cat. I'll just call it cat, less to type. We go and fetch this URL We parse the JSON and then spit the message out if we find one, and if we don't, then we spit out an error message. Here's the dogs one. We do new command, dog, say. This pulls from dogapi.dog. So dogapi.dog is a dog API providing dog data as a service. It's really very nice of them. We got /API, which is where they hide everything. Then there's a /API/v2/facts, I think it's called. Yep. That's where we get the data from for the fact, the dog fact. And we want the data attribute, and then in that array element we want the body. And so the command for that one goes off, it grabs that URL, it passes that into a fact object, and then it looks for the data body. So again there it's looking at data, looking at the 0th element of the array, and then pulling the body. So if we pull fact.data 0.attributes.body, that's looking at this data array here with the attribute there, which contains body. So then when we run dog, we get a dog fact. Wherever you can find an API that gives JSON, you can probably, given an example command to start with, you can probably work out how to get that JSON out. It does get very complicated when we were looking at the Epic Games one, and there's so many different components. Trying to get the component out was hard work. But once I spent an hour working it all out, then it became relatively straightforward to copy and paste.